Warning, this episode of The Smoke Pit features topics that some may find extremely disturbing regarding violent crimes. Discretion is highly advised. We are joined by John Douglas, a legendary pioneer in criminal profiling and the inspiration behind the hit show Mindhunter. John has interviewed some of the most notorious serial killers of our time. Some of his cases include Charles Manson, John Wayne Gacy, David son of Sam Berkowitz, and more.
Welcome back for another episode of The Smoke Pit. I'm joined today by John Douglas, Juan, and Jamie. Mr. Douglas is our special guest, FBI from 1970 to 1996, profound profiler for serial killers. Has 17 books out that are non-fictional, got 2 books that are considered fictional. But the longevity you had within the FBI, you also were in the Air Force for 4 years.
Right.
John, what brings you here to talk to us today?
Well, you guys seem to be really interested in this, this subject matter, like so many people. And it just amazes me. I don't like to do a lot of marketing, but when you come out with books, the publishers after you. But for the sake of, just like hustling myself, I'll get a call in the middle of the night, and I'm watching a hockey game, and they'll say, "Hey, there was just a school shooting, and we want some comments on it." They say, "I'm watching the Washington Capitals right now. I know nothing. I know nothing about this case. What you're talking about.
Let me have dinner first.
Yeah,
and then we'll talk about it.
But it just surprises me when I go out the numbers of people who show up at presentations I give, or these crime conferences where you get a lot of.
It's intriguing. Let's look at this logically.
Right.
You've been in this business since, we'll say, 1970 until present. You've been on the biggest profiling cases that had to do with serial killers or sexual predators, we'll say. And then people want to know, being a profile, that's what started the Mindhunters because of your career. They started the Mindhunters based off of your career. Right. What's the secret to profiling? Do you have to look at paper, or would you rather sit in front of somebody like this and get a better case for what profiling is?
Well, yeah, really.
Or can you do it watching a hockey game?
Yeah, no, you can't do that. But some cases are happening so quickly. It's like, one after another. You have to provide on-site consultation. But in other cases where we have some time, as long as they send me the materials that I need to do the analysis, the medical examiner's report, the autopsy, victimology, which is a profile of the victim, so I know why this victim was this victim of this crime, opportunistic, targeted, or whatever. The police investigative reports, just the basics, not really the specifics of suspects, who they may be looking at. So you get this material, but you can't do it with every kind of case. The more psychopathology is evidence at the crime scene, the more bizarre. And then when you start getting to multiple cases, it starts to make it easier. You start to see patterns. A lot of people will think that all I've done is serial murder cases. That's totally false. I've interviewed most of our country's assassins in the United States. I've done tons of interviews of serial rapists, and we've done rape profiles. I've done arson cases. I've done bombing cases. I've done public corruption cases where I've gone after judges that were on the take. In fact, even on the law enforcement side, we've had cases like that as well. I've done fugitive assessments of criminals wanted in this country. That's 2 books ago, I did a book on Joseph Paul Franklin. He was a racist serial killer who killed 17, 18 people. The Bureau didn't know where he was in the United States. We've identified him. So very young in my career, they say, "Hey, John, can you do this? Tell us where he is." I said, "Well, I'll have to get his material." So I go up to headquarters. They provide me all the material, but I don't do it there. The air is too thin at FBI headquarters there. So anyway, I would go down to Quantico, back to Quantico, go up in the library and assess everything. And like with Franklin, I was able to pinpoint the area where he would be in the United States, the city he would be going to. In fact, when I did it with him, I went out to all the offices that Joseph Paul Franklin would be going to Mobile, Alabama. That's where he was a success as a bank robber early in his career. He impregnated a 14-year-old girl, had a baby. And so now that he's in his fugitive status, his common turf, comfort zone will be going back to Mobile. So sure enough, he shows up in Mobile, giving blood. The agent in charge of the office, I mean, some of these guys have no clue what I was doing. And they said, what is the name, savings and loan or the bank he's going to be robbing next? What is the name? Because I told him, he'd be going there. I said, I picked your city, man. I said, I can't tell you the name. The name of
the April.
The routing them. Not today.
That's what it's like. But the difficult part is, and it kind of follows like the Mindhunter, the Netflix series. Although, surprisingly, I think I may have mentioned Jamie yesterday, is that never contacted me. The actors, Holt McCallany, came to Fredericksburg or lived, stayed with me a few days, but he was playing the other character, like my partner, and really sharp. And then Jonathan Groff was Holden Ford, my character. I didn't meet him until after the fact. When Holt came down and said, John, he said, I tell these guys, you have so much information on these cases. I said, yeah, Holt. I said, look, I got out of the Bureau in 1995. I did this book, Mindhunter. I thought it was going to be a one-book wonder. So I'm just going
19 books later.
Yeah, but I'm just going through the cases. I'm just skipping through the cases. I'm not going deep dive. So, and it's a great show. But they had, for example, Richard Speck and the interview with Richard Speck that they did on television. I mean, the interview that I did with Richard Speck was unbelievable. To go into the prison, these prisons, all very intimidating. I did a couple of interviews there, but I wanted to interview Speck. So you want me to tell you the facts of this thing? Yeah, it's interesting. So I met with the counselor. They were going to separate Speck from the rest of the group. They had him in a cage. So then I go into this 4-tier cell, broken glass and birds flying around in this, prison. You can't walk too close to the side of they'll throw shit on you, and cups of urine on you, and it's just always noisy chanting. So the counselor wanted to take me to see his pornography, just to see the pornography that he has in his jail cell. But as he's walking me there, he's starting to go crazy. He's waiting. He's in this cage where I got to go in that cage in a few minutes. So he's UMF or FBI. Yeah, he's just going nuts. He's going crazy. I said, counselor, hey, look, let's just walk past the cell because I got to go back in there. Let's just kind of, walk past. I said, okay, I just want to show you one thing before we go to see Richard Speck. He said, remember the research we did? They did in the 80s with pink paint. They get a violent offender and they put a violent offender in a room painted pink, and it could be a weightlifter. Now you lift outside that room, you're lifting 200 pounds. You get in the room with the pink paint, 100 pounds. It feels tough. They had that effect. Just the color of paint.
Subdued.
He says, I look in there. This guy was in isolation. I said, yeah, but a lot of paint is off the wall. And he said, yeah, they're eating it. They're eating it. And he said, it only works. You only can keep them in that room for about an hour or so. But then after that, it has no effect on them. So anyway, it was interesting. So then I go back.
Slight detail, right, in the study.
Yeah, that's right.
1 hour time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reverse effect.
Yeah. I go back now in the cage, and it is just like a wired cage, and like I said, it's very intimidating, place and the noise, and he's MFing me the whole time, and I'm just a young guy, man.
How far away are you from him?
Well, I'm initially
Approaching.
close, but now he's getting away from me, and I'm going to get away from him because now I'm going to sit at a table like this with his counselor here, and he's sitting back on a credenza, like so many of them, like Manson did with me. They want to dominate you.
Sure.
And he has to dominate through his little physical size. Now, Speck was good. I mean, Speck was about my height. So just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, I'm talking to his counselor, and I said, Frank, and he says, yeah, he says, I don't know about this guy with Speck, what he eats for breakfast regarding sex, what he did to those women, 7 of these nurses. I said, I don't know what he eats for breakfast. And all of a sudden, and the counselor picked up on it with me. He said, yeah, right. I never, what the hell is he eating? This guy, it's amazing. All of a sudden, and Speck chimes in. He says, I didn't F those women. I didn't F. And I said, no, I said, you just did the one on the couch. Right? Yeah, I know. And so then he turns, he says, you ought to be in here with me. Like, I'm crazy. I'm sure. Crazy. So you're not shocked by it, you just kind of, sometimes you'll kind of go along with the laughing. I'm on a mission, and the mission is to gather your information. So I'll let the a-hole, if he wants to sit on top of a chair, if they want to,
Right.
whatever, I'm just trying to get information.
Open
And
you
generally, if I do it well, they don't want me to leave because I get into this mode where I'll start particularly some cases I may not know his depth, but I'm doing these interviews. I'll start telling them about themselves. As long as you describe to me the crime scene, I'll interpret that, and I'll let you see if this was going on in your life the day that you went out and started, killing here. That this was a factor in your life. And usually, what happens is, that they're really surprised, and it's nothing like the great Carmack on Johnny Carson years ago, and anything like that. It's just when you start to see patterns of behavior, then certain things are predictable. When I started this and came back, I was in Detroit working, and it was a big factor for me. If you don't mind me keep talking, I'll talk.
No, if you want me to stop. It's all good. We'll have a drink.
Yeah. You guys sit back and relax. I'll tell you.
We want to get more engaged, and we want you to talk to us. Because the questions, here's the thing. The questions out there are, they have analytics. So everything you did back in the early days and put that into a computer system, you couldn't.
No.
Everything was paper and pen.
Yeah.
And that's how you got the analytics. Nowadays, you put it on the thing. So say tomorrow someone starts a serial killer. They can get into the system, and based off his patterns now, they can use that analytics. But back then, it's not. You had this.
Yeah.
This is all you had.
Yeah. But no, it's different, though. It's not. It's still different. It's because I've been to doctors recently because I had some problems. And you go to the doctor, particularly the newer doctors, and there's something wrong with you. You have a pain in your chest. They start asking you questions. While you're giving them the answers, they're typing stuff up and they're typing information. And what they're doing is exactly what I developed in the I was like 91, a crime classification manual, how to determine the motivation, how to determine the classification of crime. Is this a contract murder? Is this a personal cause murder? Sexual homicide? Is it group cause murder? And so they're putting this information in, relying, as long as my information is good to them, they'll be able to give me a good diagnosis. If I'm lying to them about certain things in my health, they'll be off. So you go along that continuum. But at the end, the doctor still has to be the one to make the decision.
Yeah.
He still has to be the one to decide, what is, you got an ulcer or you just got, whatever. I don't know what they're doing today. At Quantico, it could be to a certain extent using artificial intelligence, but somebody at the end has to still make the decision. And that's the thing. And then some people, I know even when I was providing training, and bringing people in, they can't make a decision. They're afraid to make a decision. They're afraid to be wrong. Because I love these guys, and I brought men and women in, and they could be well as an agent. They could be well as an officer or a Marine Corps, but then you put them in another job, they're not good for this particular job. So they would come in, to the unit, and I'd sit around in consultation. Usually what we may have as many as 10 or so sitting around, like newbies, and then a little more of the senior.
FNGs.
Yeah. So they should just be observing and keeping their mouth shut. Some once in a while they'll say something stupid. But I wait to see which of the ones that are providing information, giving information all along, are thinking, are creative, and then and which are the ones that jump on at the end to agree, with this. That was a great, but they had, virtually.
The followers, not leaders.
Yeah, that's right. They just follow. So they'll never be wrong.
I'll agree with you, John. Whatever you say is perfect. Can we get a soup in here or something?
Yes.
That's under control.
But the big nut, a lot of them hasn't done is, you go before a task force, the land of child killings. They hated my guts, man. The land. I was censured. If you know my background, I was censured by the FBI. Then they turned around and gave me a letter of accommodation.
That's the government for you.
Yeah, $200, and I gave it to the Navy Relief Fund at Quantico families. It was done so cheap. It was $200 minus tax, right? 20% tax. So I get this, and I was gone. I was gone months. I was probably like a nickel an hour when I was gone, and it showed up in my mailbox. It wasn't even.
Right.
Hey man, you did it.
Sending them out. Hey, John, this is your citation.
Yeah.
By the way, the check is taxed taken out already.
Right.
yeah, that's right.
We're good, right? We're good.
That Atlanta case kind of started everything.
Well, it's so it just.
I mean, they must have thought you were crazy at the time.
Well, yeah. See, that's you got the same thing in the military. It's better better to ask forgiveness for permission, all of that. So you just do it. You just do it. They're not all happy. Even when you have these successes, you won't find everyone, behind you, patting you. No, you might feel a little blood. Well, the boss. The bosses, and I got to keep stroking those bosses because they'll come down. I reached the point where they come down and want to talk to me about these cases. And I say, please, will you please do me a favor? Will you please go upstairs and talk to the assistant director?
Right.
You don't even have to have film in your camera. Just make believe. You can always say it was edited out, but please go up there. And so they would do that. So we know we've done it. We've done that before. So, but getting back to you,
That's pretty nice of you, though.
Getting back to the Atlanta case here.
That wire kicking your ass, John.
Yeah, let me get it around here. I got it now.
Sorry, folks, we're having technical difficulties with these wires.
John is. Yeah.
Us old guys are having trouble with our feet down here.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, decrepitness or something, but it's all good.
But the Atlanta case, because traditionally the cases were pretty much white. It was a white male serial killers, but we had sprinklings of them, or the Columbus stranglings, things like that. We had some, but go down to predominantly black community, the black commissioner of police, the black police chief, the mayor. Everyone's black. The agent in charge of the FBI offices are black. First black, John Glover, a great guy. He was there. And now here I come down there. I go through all the cases and look at the material, and this is an interracial crime. This is interracial. If this is a Ku Klux Klan, if this is some kind of racist type of crime, generally there's a lot of symbolism with it. They'll hang a guy on Main Street, not they're not going to have us finding skeletonized remains like some of the ones we're finding, right now. And so
there's a message in it. They're doing it for a reason.
There's some symbolism.
Signature.
Yeah, something. There. So God, I mean. So the Bureau, you get this high ass pucker factor when you do this, you do the, and then they bring in People magazine. I didn't ask for this. They come to my office and they approved it. They come to my office and what do you think? This is before it was still an unknown subject. And I go through this whole spiel about him, his race, age, kind of car, kind of criminal history he would have, marital status, the whole shebang. And are you sure? Are you sure? Who approved this interview? You approved this interview. I did this interview here. And so I got that. And then now there's so many cases. So now I'm down at the scene doing the onset. I remember going to one of the crime scenes. This kid was killed in a school. A cop comes up to me and he said, "You're Douglas, huh?" Yeah, I'm Douglas. He says, "I saw your profile." "Oh yeah, yes, it's a bunch of shit." I said,
they're profiling you.
I said,
now.
"Well, yeah." So I said, "Really?" I said, "F you, man." I said, "I didn't ask to be here. I just assumed be back to Quantico. I got tons of cases back here. This is not the only case that I have." You had all of that. Going on. And then the other thing I said, kind of controversial, that the cases weren't all linked together by one offender. There were different cases there, that should not be on the list. But the tendency sometimes with these departments, you get somebody, you clear the books.
Easy.
Yeah. You got all these clearances now. So the clear the book there. So anyway, came up with different ideas. The medical exam was shooting his mouth off about crime scene evidence being found, and so then I felt the bodies would end up in water. So they started staking out the Chattahoochee River, and about the third day they hear a plop in the water, go up on a bridge, and there's Williams. And then they really screwed up, including the Bureau. They should have had enough to bring his butt back to the office, and they let him go. Even though looking in the car, they saw ligatures and things like that. Then the rest was this surveillance of him, for days and days, and then they finally will bring him up to to the office. So he'd be charged, but now a lot of the stress of it. I go down now consultation. Now it's 1981, right? And I've only been doing this since 1977. Since I've been back in Quantico. And so here I now coaching the prosecution, coaching the prosecution for ideas, and I'm observing, predicting certain things that may happen here, and the prosecution was losing, and we're back in a room, kind of a room like this, and at the end of the day, all the big shit's involved in the investigation. I talk. "Oh, did you hear him? That expert on hair and fiber evidence. He was totally wrong. He said the twist was to the right. It should have been to the left. And everyone, "Hey, what do you think, John?" I said, "You're losing the case, man. You're losing the case." I said, I said, "This guy for the defense looks like John F. Kennedy. He's got big, sparkling white teeth. He may not know shit from Shinola, but they're eating it all up. and they're nodding like crazy. Our guys, and the guys are in the room I'm talking to, our guys, you are so technical. I have no idea what you're even saying. I can't even follow, you know what you're saying.
I can't either. That
Yeah.
means, you know,
So anyway, so we go back in the courtroom. They're ready to get rid of me. They go back in the courtroom, and I see how things are going during the trial. And I reach over and I tap one of the attorneys on the back. What's up? His name is Gordon Miller. What's up, John? I said, 1 week from today, Williams is going to be getting sick in the courtroom. He said, what? I said, 1 week from today, he's going to get sick. He's starting at an edge here now, and it's going to be a sympathy ploy that he's going to use. But meanwhile, I got a plane waiting for me because they're basically kicking me out for what I said the day before.
you're right.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah. So anyway, I get back to Quantico, and holy mackerel, Wayne Williams gets sick in the courtroom. He gets sick in the courtroom. Take him away to the hospital. He's feigning that crap, he's feigning it. Douglas, Douglas got to get back. He's got to get back. So now I'm like E.F. Hutton, now a few of them are listening. So now, and then the defense wants to meet with me, and they had a great defense team. They ended up really liking me, the defense guys. But now he's going to take the stand. I coached another attorney, Jack Malik, had to take him on because when Al Binder, I think named Jaws, Wayne Williams's attorney, one of two, the other guy was Kitchens. He got Williams's hands. He was on the stand. He said, "Look at these hands. Do these hands look like the hands of a serial killer? Look at these." And he's showing the jurors, "Look at the hands of this."
They were soft hands.
Yeah. So, and he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. I mean, it's just But people have this, like everyone's going to be, some gargantuan killer. And so I talked to Jack, and I said, "Jack, what do you?" He's asking, "What do you think?" I says, "Well, you can now touch his hands. You can go up there, but when you go up to the stand and when you hold his hands, I want you to say in a low voice, low enough where the jurors can. I'm not a lawyer. Just the jurors can hear you, but not hopefully maybe not even defense attorneys, and say, what was it like, Wayne? What was it like when you wrapped your fingers around Terry Pugh's throat? Did you panic, Wayne? Did you panic?" No. And that's how his response, no. And then he catches himself and he says, "I know you got that goddamn FBI profiler in the court, and you're trying to get me to fit that profile. I'm not fitting your profile over there." And then everyone, the jurors are looking and say, "Holy, yeah, mackerel." He's done. But so the big thing is he still is just they cleared just way too many cases on him. I mean, he's done it. I mean, he's got stuff in his background that I was aware of. But here you get a case like that. We're looking like crazy for different kinds of people. And I'm doing different proactive techniques, and the Bureau has to analyze it. And that's time has passed. I can't even get it done because you've been analysis paralysis. We got nothing, nothing done here. So anyway, and I was at this scene. In one of the scenes, there were two skeletonized remains found at the scene. And like a triangle at the point was a pornographic magazine. So two skeletonized bodies, pornographic magazine, down here. So what do you think? The guy's here, he's masturbating, he's fantasizing, reliving these crimes here. They do a background. How they do it, they get the magazine, and then through latent fingerprints, and this is not the automated fingerprint system. This is one fingerprint card at a time. There was like 90-something million of them. They come up with a name. Wow. They come up with a name from those prints on that pornographic magazine. And guess what? He's driving one of these bug Terminator trucks. Yeah. Oh, look at the symbolism. He's got a Terminator truck, and
noxious fumes.
So they drag him in for the interview, and when they bring him in, and they said, "Hey, look, we found this this magazine here. We identified it to you. Yeah, think of it, he's the killer. This guy, and he's white though. He's the killer." And And he starts hemming and hawing. He says, come on, tell us what happened here. And he says, well, he says, my wife's pregnant. And I get this magazine, and I go off to the spot here, and I masturbated. I masturbated here. And the thing that's really was hilarious, President Reagan at the time was all set to make a press release. This was big news. We have broken the Atlanta child killing, that we caught this guy, and we identified him in the woods here. And, when we told him how we got him, and he says, well, yeah, I would sit in the truck and I threw the magazine out the window. I said, no, you had to be, like Joe Namath or Joe Montana to get to where the magazine was. Then he admitted he went out there. But little did he know, this joker know, that when he was doing that, he was right in a triangle, like the Bermuda Triangle of two skeletonized bodies. And you see, you get this stuff in investigations, these red herrings that get you excited, but it goes nowhere.
The triangle killer, right?
That is out of control.
That's wild.
All right, my biggest question is, so I'm sitting here listening to you, so I'm doing some profiling.
Yeah, good.
I'm not good at this. I saw it once on TV, but have you found that everybody you interviewed in profiling, that every single one of them has some type of sexual piece background-wise, that had a fetish, per se, for all your serial killers to include your sexual assault?
Yeah.
There's always something played within
Yeah.
the sexual realm.
Well,
If that makes sense.
first of all, almost without exception, of the ones who I've interviewed,
Yeah,
they had dysfunctional backgrounds.
Right.
It was an abuse of some type. There was neglect of some type. I mean, someone will say, well, yeah, but no, Ted Bundy, he didn't have that. No, you're wrong. You don't know Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy's sister got pregnant, and he sent her off to one of the New England states. In those days, it was in the 40s. You hide all this stuff. And so what the parents did, she ended up keeping the child. But what they did was the parents made believe they were the mother and father. The grandparents made believe they were the mother and father, and the so-called his mother now was now the sister. So he was raised. He thought was his sister was really his mother. So he finds that out. So what you're looking for are precipitating stressors and events, and it doesn't happen to everyone. Everyone can have similar types of situations and react differently to it. But early on, you start to see other indications of violence. We referred to it one time, homicidal triangle, which included bedwetting into the teens, fire setting, which is again power, control. David Berkowitz himself set 2,500 fires in New York City. And then the big one, because I go up to Canada sometimes to their SPCA, they investigate animal cruelty, and animal cruelty is a big one. When you get the animal when you get to the animal cruelty stuff, that is that, and if you don't intercept. It starts early, because teachers will tell you too. They start seeing it. If you don't intercept it soon enough, it's just going to progress.
You're half a step away from killing people.
Yeah, that's it.
Do you think it's inherent in anyone, in everyone, every human, and just some can control it better than others, or not?
Well, yeah. I mean, two people can be abused, but you may be in a situation where a teacher may help you out, your family member may help you out, a neighbor may, or just you personally, your personal constitution, your strength, that you're able to survive this. But not everyone can do that, and so they'll react
Support
out.
network.
Yeah,
You gotta give support. I mean, personally, like for us, just so everyone knows, this is Juan. We served in the Marine Corps together. He was a 5th Force, and I was a 3rd SOTG back in the 90s. We're showing our age now.
That's right.
There we are.
It's just kind of weird for Juan, because he was a young guy in the Marine Corps, and going through packages, and ended up getting out as a captain. He quit and wanted to get out after 12 years.
Became an officer, came out.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, he was
Different
a
life.
mustache.
The dark side.
And now, what do you do now, Juan? I forgot that.
I'm in body armor sales. I work for a large body armor manufacturer, and I'm sales.
Sales.
Good.
So so that's why Juan's here. We figure, we got you coming in. He knows you, and what's asking.
Thinks he knows me, right?
He knows.
Have you been profiled?
Yeah.
Have you been profiled?
Have you been profiled? Has anybody sat down with you, John?
And like use your
I have my own.
techniques?
I have my own issues and problems, and just like everyone else.
As long as it's not bedwetting animal abuse.
Yeah, no, yeah.
But there's got to be a fine line between. I mean, I like to burn things and see fire
Oh, yeah,
and the energy that captures, but
Yeah, but I burn ants with a magnifying
Sure,
glass.
right.
That was when I was a kid. But that's not, stuff, stuff like that. We're talking about the psychopathic, personality, narcissistic.
Yeah.
Shows no remorse, no concern. That's what when you do these interviews, they can't. They can't identify with the crime that they did.
Yeah.
I was involved, like for example, O.J. Simpson case, in the civil case against his,
Okay.
but not the criminal.
Yeah.
I wish I was. Because they really screwed that up.
You think? I mean, I made a judgment and I just watched the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean,
glove fit, dude.
yeah.
So-
Oh, yeah.
You see his surprised
Yeah.
look? He's like,
Yeah.
oh.
Yeah.
Gee, you put it in the washer, it's going to shrink
Yeah.
a little bit. That's what the shit is.
Eat salt that day.
Yeah.
They interrupted the Knicks finals game to watch him run away.
Oh my. Oh yeah.
Knicks,
that was crazy.
Knicks Rockets.
That was.
That was. I think for the United States, what I've seen over my career, both in the military and now, being retired, as you see a lot of these, and I'm going to say it, and you say it a couple times, they're not psychopaths. They are. They're a bunch of weirdos out there, I think, looking for a claim or someone to give them a hug. I think if these guys younger had hugs and someone loved them, they might not be who they are.
Oh sure.
The support network. Like you mentioned.
Support. So I think, too, at the end of the day, when they find these guys guilty now, I'm going to ask this question to you. Now, it's just Stu, retired Marine, asking this question.
Yeah.
Right? When you get done with this and they're convicted, would you rather see them get one chance to appeal or no chance of appeal, and we take them out back the courthouse, put them against the wall, and can we say shoot them on
Pack
the
sand.
line?
On the line.
Yeah, we do the execution ourselves at no cost to the taxpayers. Stu will do it for free.
Yeah.
I'll bring the gun. I'll bring the ammo. For free.
It depends on the cases. I mean, some cases just outright the guy did. Yeah, so much evidence, on the guy.
Carnage with it, yeah.
But then you're probably not aware of this. Since when I got out of the bureau, I could work on cases from defense attorneys when I was in, but I did. A lot of it was pro bono stuff. If I really believe this person innocent. So if you heard of the West Memphis Three in West Memphis, Arkansas, where three in the early '90s, three 8-year-old boys were killed by allegedly and convicted, killed by a 17, 18, and 19-year-old boys, teenagers, and through blunt force trauma, and drowning. And this was in West Memphis, Arkansas. Now, if you've ever been to Memphis, it's not bad there. A little crime right now, it's ridiculous. But then you go over to West Memphis, Arkansas, over the bridge. It's like a third world country. And the police over there at the time was very, 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 very corrupt. And then in our country at that time, this was in the 90s. Remember, everything was satanic. There were satanic crimes and all these. You had kids' pictures on milk cartons. They should have had who they should have had on the cartons were the parents of these kids, because a lot of it was parental abductions. Because every year in the country, we only have about around 100. It's about 100 totally stranger type of abductions. It's a lot, but not 50,000 like Geraldo Rivera was shooting off his mouth, and Oprah Winfrey was shooting off her mouth. And then they had these schools around the country that were being put on by some police, and you really know the credentials, in the background, talking about Satanism. And so anytime you saw a pentagram, we got the satanic group here in town. So they wrote this thing off as a satanic murder. And then I knew a little bit about the case when I was in the bureau, but not really have time to study. But so I'm home and I get a call one day, and it's from this woman who says she's married to Damien Eccles. Damien Eccles is on death row, and just right here, Damien, what the hell is it? And then someone who's married. I get so many Fruit Loop women that marry these guys in prison, and because it's different. They'll looking for, that gives them some kind of recognition, a little bit of power, status. God forbid the guy ever got out. They'd be peeing in their pants. I mean, these guys are violent, violent, people, here. And so, where was I going with this guy? Where was I going with him?
We're talking about. You're talking about how he was getting. Now you got me confused.
Do you ever?
Get the young guys.
Yeah. So I get a call one day, and from that wife. I was from the wife, but then she said, "There's people in Hollywood. I've read your books and all that. They're interested. They can't. We can't tell you who they are, but they'd like you to help in this case. We're bringing in as a forensic team, and that it turns out." I had to sign this paper in case I find out they're guilty. I think they're guilty. I got to keep my mouth shut. And so that person is Peter Jackson, Lord of the Rings, and from New Zealand. You know, all the movies he's made, and you know, The Hobbit, you know, King Kong. You know, he's really great. So they brought me and this team in, and I did my analysis. And my analysis took the investigation to a stepfather that was never interviewed at all. It was this one stepfather, and they ended up finding his mitochondrial DNA, his hair, at the scene that the police have sat on for years, on a tree stump, and then his hair under the ligatures of a shoelace, but not his son's shoelace, another boy's shoelaces, because they were bound. They were bound with these shoelaces, and so I did this whole thing, and then so they ended up. We had top forensic pathologists, and they were blaming it on they blaming some of the wounds on a serrated knife on the child's faces. We did a test, and we brought in people with alligator snapping turtles, because in this pond where these kids were found were alligator snapping turtles. And so I'm involved in a show called, at the time, it was West of Memphis with Peter Jackson, and our side of the story. And what we did is we put a tank full of, not full, like two alligator snapping turtles, in there. And then just to show them, and then we took them out. And this guy let him bite his arm, and let him bite his arm. And from what we were able to show is the bite impression on the arm was matching the bite impressions, on the children's faces, as well as there was some like from fish in the water, doing that. So what they ended up doing is I went before a presentation at a law school down there with this team, and they ended up releasing them on an Alford plea, the Alford plea, which is kind of weird. Usually do that in the beginning of a case. Now they're saying, okay, we didn't do it, but you have evidence to show we can do it. So to this day, they are convicted child killers. But they had me. We got these kids released. One was on death row. They're in their late 30s, deteriorating, and they went after. One of the kids had a 72 IQ. And you could have told that kid there was cheese on the moon, he would have believed you. And they manipulated him, and with no video going on, no audio going on, or when they did turn on, they turned on after they got all the information that they fed the kid. Now they turned the tape recorder on. So they ended up. We got them released. Wow, a real emotional day. But then they said, John, we want you to communicate with the attorney, the AG, on this. He just got newly appointed. And why me? So, well, you've done, with prosecutors, you've done with the defense. And we happened to be at the Sundance Festival for that show, west of Memphis, and with all the attorneys. So they said, John, you're going to get a call. I'd probably be angry with you tomorrow when you get that call. Why? I said, because he doesn't look good. We didn't make him look good in west of Memphis. So I'm ready to spar with this guy. I'm ready to bob and weave. So he calls me up and, hello, how are you? Yeah, I'm fine. And he starts with the case. And he said, I don't know. He said, I don't know about this case. It's just, he says, what do they want? I said, well, you don't know anything about the case. I know a lot about the case. These three kids had nothing to do with it. The crime scene tells you just alone, it's so sophisticated that when the kids were put in the bayou and stuffed down at the bottom of the water, that the killer, it's called the on-sub, got a stick and used the stick to stick the clothing into the bottom mud to hide it. That's pretty, you don't find 15, 16, whatever years do that. And so, and he says, well, I don't know. He says, well, I do know. He says, what do they want? I said, they want to be exonerated. You got them down as convicted killers. He said, I don't know. The timing isn't very good right now. The timing. And I thought he meant the timing because he just let him out of prison. No. I go back home a week or two later. Timing is he's running for political office. And he's running for, and that's why he's trying to get votes. And luckily, he got beat. He got his butt beat. Anyway, but these three, that's right. Hopefully, yeah.
So you got one kid with a 72 IQ. Obviously, it might be a little easy to have some sympathy for him. But you ever sat across from one of these guys, someone who's done something absolutely horrific, start to dig into their past and look at how they grow up? And feel sympathy for them?
Great question. I was thinking the same thing.
No.
Oh, no.
The
one, not sympathy, but Ed Kemper. You may heard talk about Ed Kemper. Yeah, he's on this couple of shows I've done recently.
Yeah.
Ed Kemper, big guy, 6'9", 300 pounds. He was big all through school, but actually he's a bully. He ends up morphing into a co-ed killer in Santa Cruz, California, who back in the 70s was the murder capital per capita in the United States, because you had him, you had another guy named Herbert Mullen, a serial killer. One more, I can't remember his name. Herbert Mullen. Well, there's one other one. This guy, at age 15, his mother hated him. He locked him in the basement when he was 8 years of age. And you bum, you're nothing, you look like your old man. And she kept him down there to keep away from the two sisters. She was afraid that they were going to be sexually assaulted. But the mother was a nut job. It was really abusive. So he started taking out displaced anger on animals. He started killing animals, decapitating them, or burying some of them alive. And then while he's in the basement, he got his sister's dolls, and he started tearing the heads off the dolls, the arms, the legs off the dolls. And this would be something he would be doing later on in real life. So anyway, that's not enough. He goes to his father. His mother hates him because he looks like the old man. And he goes up to Montana. His father doesn't want anything with him, but he ends up going to his father's grandparents. And while there, he ends up killing his grandmother and his grandfather and shoots them in the head. He gets 5 years at a Tascadero mental hospital, and now he's going to get out. He's going to get out about 21 years of age. And what do they do with him? They send him back to the mother in Santa Cruz. And the mother is just harping on him, you bum, you nothing, you will never amount to anything. And she works at the university in Santa Cruz. And she says, you'll never get these girls. They're too good for you. They're too pretty for you. Just forget about it. Well, he's going to show her. He's going to show her. He's going to get these girls. And so what he does, I learned so much from him. He had about 145 IQ. I told my partner at the time, that's the equivalent of both of our IQ. But this guy here said 145. It's pretty good. It's pretty good IQ. So he goes back to into the mother's house, starts fantasizing there, and then he starts cruising. The days in hitchhiking was really big, really high risk stuff, man, to get yourself killed. And cruising along, and he would go on just practice missions, and just to see, to get him in the car, where is he going to go, the reaction to him, and then finally he's getting enough of his mother. His mother's harping on him, you bum, you drunk, and everything else. So at nighttime, he'll go up to her bed when she's sleeping with a hammer, like he wants to crush her head with a hammer. So he starts going out. And I said, Ed, how in the hell did you get these women in the car, man? You're so big. I'm 6'2". He towered over me. And he said, well, I said, this is what I decided to do. I said, I had a sedan, 1972 sedan Ford, two-door. I can sometimes get two of them in there. And once I get one in the back, they're stuck. What I did was a press grip handle on that 72. And what I did, I would put a chapstick behind there, or a lipstick. So not initially, but when I get in, I reach over like I'm helping, making sure the door's locked, and I would drop that in there. So now they're locked in there. Now, well, how about before you got him in there? He says, how are you going to get him in? You fill up the whole side of the car. And he says, what I simply found out what I could do is when I pulled over and they're looking in and they're intimidated, I would look at my watch and make it's like nonverbals to tell them that I'm on a time limit here. I got someplace to go. I said, all right, I'll get you. Yeah, come on in. And that really diffused everything. It was just interesting, how he was able, to
manipulate
so
them.
methodical.
Yes, I was able to do it.
Methodical.
So methodical.
Yeah. Oh, very, very.
That's amazing for someone of such an imposing stature.
And he was, when I did the interview, when he came in, it was like, he'd have to duck under that doorway.
That's a big man. 6'9".
Yeah, 6'9". The door's probably like 6'6", 6'9". So you're sitting there and you're right. And also, holy mackerel, look at this guy.
The way the show portrayed him was amazing. He'd put his hands around the guy's neck, your character's neck.
Oh, the other thing you should know, and your viewers, should know, when you're trying to compare to Mindhunter, made mistakes in the beginning, only from the standpoint of recorder. If you know how Mindhunter starts off with this big box recorder, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
We had a little teeny one, and I only used it once. And I used it with Kemper, because you go in there, they're extremely paranoid to begin with. Who's going to listen to this? Who are you showing? You're going to be showing this to, listening to this here. Plus, it's survival in these prisons. You can't be perceived as a snitch in going back to, and you can't trust the guards. And I don't blame them. It's survival for them. You don't want to be the badass guy. If something happens, they're going to be right after you. So with that tape recorder, I finally did away with the tape recorder, and in fact, I even did away with note taking. And that's why, like in the show The Mindhunter, Holden forwarders taking notes like that. No, you have to go in knowing the case 110% better than they know the case. Just speak about that. And I can't tell you how many times they came back that I interviewed this guy, talked to me, and he knew more about the case than anyone. All the shrinks I've been speaking to for years, because you have to maintain that eye contact. Yeah. Now, if you're interviewing like assassin personalities, they are extremely paranoid individuals. They don't trust, their eyes are going back and forth. And so with them, I found out just simple things, because I was a hostage negotiator too, is that if I got them in a room, I want them to have the ability to psychologically escape from me. So either they psychologically escape, they see a window, they can get away from me, like mentally, or a door to get away, and I don't want to block that door. And you can't really, you don't want to keep like staring hard at them, because it gets them, uneasy. So that was a different type of, approach that I use. But Kemper was really, we learned a lot. So he's the one going back. It's a shame. I mean, he deserves to be where he is, but had he had a different upbringing, he never would have ended up like that. The guy never would have. He was just battened down and just totally defeated. And so the final finale is he ends up killing his mother with that hammer, decapitates her, and throws darts at her head, and on a mantle.
I'll show you.
Takes off to go to Pueblo, Colorado, thinking that's going to be a huge manhunt for him, and nothing is on the radio. He calls the police and saying, Kemper, because he typically nothing these killers do, hung out at a police bar. He hung out to be with the cops, overhear what's going on, and investigate.
See where the leads are going to.
They do. They do that, but they didn't believe him when he was admitting to this until he called back a second time, and then they believed him. They called Boulder. He was in Boulder at that time in a phone booth, and they called out the Boulder police department. There's one detective or whoever, maybe just on patrol. He sees him in the booth. Kemper comes out. He's so big. Put your hands up. His hands go up over on top of the,
like a polar bear.
Your hands behind your waist.
Yeah.
That's out of control. So basically, what I just got from you is that when you had a strategy going in and talking to these individuals, you went in and said, okay, if I position them certain ways, like away from a window or things they can't be, what's the word I'm looking for? They can't be distracted. So they have to concentrate on you, and you get a better feed on it. I mean, I guess that's across the board for anything.
Sure.
But I think too with the cops. You know, and I'm not saying this as being bad, but I have a feeling that sometimes they go overboard. When they're talking to somebody, they think that is a suspect, and then later on they find out, hey, I'm wrong. And have you found that?
Oh yeah, I was asked to do some show, and I was with another agent, and the tactics he was advising the police to use, you could have got a false confession out of this guy. You could have break this guy, and it's easy to get a false confession out of an innocent person than it is a guilty person, because the innocent person, and I was involved in Amanda Knox as well. They think this is I'll go away. I'll tell my attorney, and this will be all straightened out. So I'll go along with this. No, it's too late, because you've already signed a statement here, a confession here. In some way, you implicated yourself. So it's easy with for somebody who doesn't know, or you're a teenager who gets pulled over, a cop, and interrogate
bullets, and you're like, oh my god, nothing's wrong with you. You did nothing wrong, but they your license registration. I know it's here somewhere.
And then you look more guilty.
Exactly. You're sweating. I think it's a problem today, because all your criminals, obviously, they put out a persona. There's something about them that makes them a criminal. That's easy. But those that get falsely convicted, I think what you just said is they're doing it because they want to get out of the room. Hey, what do you want to sign? I'm tired of 12 hours getting interrogated. What do I need to do? It's just like downrange.
Right.
We take somebody in, people don't understand. We have interpreters when we do our investigation, but obviously we didn't have an expert doing a profile. But we had to be careful what we did and how we did it.
Sure.
And usually 9 times out of 10, the guy we had was not the guy we're looking for. At the end of the day, you didn't have that part. We were learning from certain things to make our interrogation plausible, because you had field investigation and then you had, I forget the other name, it was behind. We weren't allowed to do field investigation.
Tactical
Yeah.
questioning.
Tactical question.
Yeah.
That's what
Tactical questioning.
You weren't allowed to do that.
No,
as
we
a
didn't do
non-
interrogations.
Yeah, a non-person.
Yeah.
It's interrogation because it's
Yeah.
the world. But I mean, it's 9 times out of 10 we found the guy we found or grabbed was not the guy we're looking for.
Yes.
The guy we were looking for was a guy that was obscure, sitting over there by something, laughing at us.
Yeah.
Because you're like, who you talking?
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be the same.
Yeah,
thing
because
in
yeah,
the world.
Hanging
because
at the police bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, instead he's up in the
Collusion.
Oval.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because I've been on cases where the police have a tremendous suspect, but after you do the assessment of the suspect, you say, yeah, this is a bad guy, but this bad guy wouldn't have perpetrated this crime this particular way. So when you go out on a case, you either reinforce the investigation or you refocus
Sure.
the investigation. But in the early days, let me tell you, it's in the early days. When I go before these forces, okay, now I came back to Quantico, 31, youngest agent at Quantico, at FBI headquarters, one of the very, very young, just before my 32nd birthday, with 7 years of field experience and with the SWAT and with the hostage and bank robbery coordinator, and then I had 3 advanced degrees by then, not the 4th yet, and so I was
Only 3.
but
I only had 3.
so I had a good. So, but now I'm in these classes, man. I'm in these classes auditing the old guys, and they're talking about cases, and hands pop up and say, "Hey, Mr. So and So, you got your facts wrong here." No, yeah, I worked the case. That's not a black female there. You're looking at. What do you mean? The body's decomposed. It's a white woman. The body's so you're auditing the class because you got to be one day in front of that and teaching these gray hair guys like me now and teaching all these old guys. So when I saw that, I said, "Holy crap!" And so what can I do to accelerate my learning? Just to be a good instructor initially. And we had road schools like in the Mindhunter show. You go out like 2 weeks at a time. You go to LAPD and then you maybe go up to Boise, Idaho or something. And you have a lot of downtime in between. So let's go into these prisons. Let's see. We got the credentials. Let's go see. We don't have to say why we're there. We just want to talk to whomever. And so did that. And that's why Kemper, he was really the first one. So you come back, you start doing a couple of interviews. Now you have this class, criminal psychology. It's becoming very popular at the FBI Academy because I'm changing it into criminal profiling. But the cops are coming back with cases from their hometown, and they're giving you these cases. And how am I going to keep all these cases? I got all these teaching assignments, and so it started off like the first year was like 50 cases. The first 50 case we got. And then it just started. I started, doubling, and then started get some very nationally recognized cases. Robert Hansen, besides not BTK, I was involved, but he wasn't caught yet. Robert Hansen, Alaska, who's hunting women down like wild animals up in Alaska. The Buffalo's 22 caliber killer. I was over on the Yorkshire Ripper case, the Atlanta child killings, the Unabomber, the Tylenol, a murder case, all these different things, and it is just overwhelming. It's getting to a point in my life where it's starting to get damage to my health, because I'm young, I'm dreaming about this stuff. I'm also as like a negotiator. I get calls at nighttime. You started developing. You don't want to do this, but you start developing isolation and affect to protect yourself. But I felt that I really shouldn't have that because I try to have to walk and experience what the victims are going through, and the subject is the interaction, with the subject. So I leave. You go to work when it's dark. You come home when it's dark, and then I would take the long way home, and then just decompress and get home. I go to a room, have a few beers, some decompress,
That's what it
decompress, some more. But it was reaching a point where it was January 1983. January, I'm up in the boardroom, a drinking room, and with assistant directors. They're good guys. This one was very supportive of me, Jim McKinsey. And I said, Jim, man, I can't keep up this pace. I said, what do you mean? I said, I got so much. I can't, and you may give me bodies, but it's going to take 2 years to train these bodies. He said, but John, the Bureau, you pretty much got to drop before you get anything. Well, that was January. in October, I'm training up in New York City to a couple hundred cops up in New York. And during my presentation, I'm starting to get overwhelmed. I'm thinking of all this stuff I have to do yet that I've just done. I got more I have to do. I don't know if you ever had an anxiety attack, but holy crap.
You're in good company here.
Yeah, I thought, yeah.
I feel like you're having a heart attack.
Oh, my
I go to the
God.
hospital. They're like,
Oh, yeah.
"You're having anxiety attack."
I thought
Just breathe.
I was having a heart
You're
attack.
saying I like the panic?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's frightening. What the hell is happening to me? And you can't call it free floating. Sometimes because you know where it's from, what's causing all this
You're
craziness.
human, though.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
That's the thing. You're a human being who's got a skill set that they overwork. That's what the government.
Yeah.
So out loud, that's what the federal government does. If you're good at what you do, they are going to take you and run you into the ground.
Yeah.
And one of my questions was, going through all this, you had to have some kind of sit in a dark room by yourself to kind of
Oh, my God.
decompress and get rid of. Because
Oh no.
you know, I'm going to say the PTSD,
Yeah.
the mind piece, it's got to kill you.
That's what a doctor.
It eats you up inside.
When I finally dropped, the doctor, I came real close to dying.
Yeah.
In 1983, I was only 38 years of age, and after that New York City presentation, I go back and I take out extra life insurance, income protection insurance, because I know something's going to happen to me.
Smart
And
move.
then the day I leave to go out there, it's like November 30th, something. I tell my wife goodbye once at home, and then I go by the school where she's teaching to say goodbye again. Why are you doing that? You don't look well. You know, I got a headache. But I have to take these two agents they assigned me to train them. So I go out before the King County Task Force. That was the Green River murder case, and I go out, go for the task force. I come back that night to the two guys, and I say, look, I think I'm getting the flu. I don't feel really great. It's Tuesday now. I'll see you Friday. Come get me. We'll head back to D.C. And so that night, I collapsed on my hotel room floor. But before I collapsed, I put a "Do Not Disturb" sign on the door. Today, they'd probably kick it down, but then they wouldn't do it. So not only did housekeeping didn't disturb me, the agents didn't disturb me. And when they found me on Friday, they kicked down the door. They described me in a frog-like position, and my whole body, every periodic would just start trembling and shaking. When the medical crews came in there, my body temperature was 104 to 107, and my right temporal lobe had split, and I was in a coma, and my eyes were doll-like. And this is really kind of a frightening story. They take me to the hospital. I just remember it was really bright light. It was probably the light. It's not like the tunnel light. That's probably the light being in the emergency room.
They have a pop the ceiling, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, so what happened is that I get tremendous pain. They're putting a catheter in me. I didn't know it was a catheter. They're putting needles in my leg veins because my other veins are collapsing. I think I'm being tortured. They describe me as my eyes doll-like, meaning that they're not moving. The pupils aren't dilated. And then when they began to put a life support system, I didn't know it was a life support. No one's saying anything. It was just quiet. I think someone's trying to murder me now. It's trying to choke me to death. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, a voice comes from one of these nurses and says, "John, you're very, very sick. You're here at Swedish Hospital in Seattle, Washington. We're going to make you well." There's no indication why she should have said that. But by hearing that voice, it just relaxed me. And I went deep in the coma for a week. Then when I came out of it, I was paralyzed. And paralyzed like here, everything was like dripped down. Yeah. And then I got complications of blood clots. And then how they're going to treat that because he's got bleeding in his head. And it was one of the most frightening experiences. And when I got back home a month later, I was like 195. I came back at 160 or something.
Wow.
So that was a waste. And I couldn't even watch a Lassie movie without getting emotional. I mean, any little thing.
I saw that today.
Yeah. Yes.
It's a reset.
Yeah.
I've literally watched like life insurance commercials and at the end of them.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What's the matter with this?
Oh, yeah.
Having a moment. That's what
I just gave.
Any sporting event.
I just gave the Tunnel to Towers last night.
Yeah.
I can't be watching without giving money. I mean, gosh, with all these guys, what they've gone through. So, but I was so angry at the organization that I got a lot of the material that I had at the house and I burned it like catharsis. I was just burning it, and then they were going to give me a medical disability for 38, and they really didn't want a disability at all. So I was out of work 5 months, had to learn how to walk and everything.
Wow.
And I was always working out. So it helped me on the rehab because by being involved in exercise over the years. And so when I got back to work, the cases were there and they gave me the bodies. But man, I had so many cases, hundreds of cases. When I left the bureau, we were doing 1,000 cases, a year. So really, it's hazardous.
Hazardous duty pay.
Yeah, it's actually, and a lot of these young kids today, when I do this public speaking, they watch this television, they think it's fun and joy, and I talk to a group every year. I got another 5 of them this summer. Be talking to called Envision, kids from all over the country, and I tell them this job is hazardous to your health. You don't understand, and how it when you interact with victims and with the offenders, and just the nature of the work, the volume of the work, it spills over into your personal life. And it's not like the stuff like on Criminal Minds. It's baloney.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going out there knocking down doors. We're not taking cases away from police. It's their investigation. You are a tool in the toolbox of an investigator, and you can use as much or as little as he wants. For the investigator, maybe the prosecutor later on, and helping during the case, search warrants, perhaps. But you're not. They got these guys pulling their guns, chasing down people, and they're all like young. They're like in their 20s, 20s.
Criminal Minds are
Well,
they're attractive,
doing this stuff. No, it's.
How is that not it for you? I mean, how do you come out of
I know, it's
an
nuts.
experience
I
like
know.
that? You almost die.
It caused problems. It caused problems in marriage, the marriage for sure. I end up. Sure, what a glutton for punishment I am. I ended up getting divorced from my wife, and then later on, I got remarried to the wife. I need a good shrink.
My father-in-law did the same thing.
Did he really?
He married his wife for 9 years. Yeah.
Nice.
And then end up marrying her back. I'm like, why would you do something like that? That doesn't make no sense.
Well, it was hard. It was my fault. I mean, when I was 27, we got married. She was 22, so I'm doing all this stuff, and she's 5 years younger. And then we come back and then we're in Milwaukee, and we have one daughter then, and then she's a school teacher. And you know, my wife's still teaching school today. 51 years she's teaching today over in the Fredericksburg school system. You got to bring her in here.
Yeah, we should.
I made her.
How was your outlet? Did you have someone to talk to? Like a group of guys?
Yes,
or somebody
in the unit. Yeah, that's where we go to the boardroom, the group. It's funny.
Have a few cocktails and tell.
Yeah, because it's just like we talk about current cases, but we like go to lunch and it'd be say 5 or 6 of us are there at lunch, and maybe like the law guys will come and want to join us. As soon as they hear what we're talking about, the disgusting we're talking about crime, blood, and guts, they leave. They would leave it.
All right, we'll catch up with you guys later.
Yeah, but the program.
Pizza, please, extra sauce. Continue. He had what left?
Yeah. The problem I had is because because I was in a training division. Now I'm developing an operational arm within. Initially was the behavioral science unit, and I'm splintering off, from that, creating this program. And so then you get the heads at headquarters. What the hell are you doing down here? That unit or program? It should be up here in the criminal investigative division. And then I'd get calls, particularly when I started getting pretty good at this, from an agent in charge, say in Miami. Hey, John, we just had a kidnapping case here. We're going to be given a press release. What do you think I should say? What kind of comments should I say or not say during this press release? So you give me ideas. Next thing you know, I get a call from headquarters. He says, are you talking to the agent in charge of the Miami office? Yeah. Who in the hell do you think you are telling him what to do? He's asking me. He's asking me for a suggestion. Will you tell that SAC he has to go through headquarters, the criminal investigator? Oh, yeah. Yeah, so the agent calls me back.
Right away.
So I tell him, and I tell him, and they said, them. He said, all I got to do is dot your I's, cross your T's, because they're doing all the administrative stuff, not the operational stuff on the, on the ground. So that was a problem, throughout. I was just, and I wasn't looking for attention, but when you start having success, and not me, the people in your unit, and actually by getting sick, it made me a good leader, a better leader, because I could see signs with my fellows, and I would say,
guys burning out.
Yeah, and I'd say, hey, go home, and I said, go home, because the bureau is so strict, you got to sign in, sign out. Go home, I'll take care of it. And you see them coming out, they're walking out with the cases. No. Leave your cases, just go home and we'll take, and I'll take care of you, So they would say I was like running a loose ship. But look what we're dealing with, here with these. I had so many agents got sick, and in fact, I'm one of the last of the dinosaurs now. Really, I mean, one of the last guys died 2 weeks ago. They pretty much have died off for various reasons. Plus, we were in the worst damn space. We were located in that bunker, which was a relocation site in case of some attack at Quantico. So, but then they found out it was no longer safe, so they stuck us down. And so,
It's perfect.
so it was 60 feet deep. So we used to say we were 10 times deeper than dead people, 60 feet underground. Here, and so I'd be down there just trying to keep the morale going, change the paint once in a while, do something, and because the people were just, and it was really tough too, because you're picking some really good people, and it's like trying to manage the Yankees, they're all stars, and then they get jealous. You get jealous, John. Ain't I the best profile you got here in this section here? And I said, Tom, I said, you're good, man. I said, but you got a lot of other good people. There's some very, very good people here. But or Tom, I said, why don't you go have a coffee with these guys? You'd rather stay. Yeah, he said, I don't drink coffee. You drink water? Go up and drink water with them. Just mix and talk. Talk to them. Or then you have a guy in your unit too who goes behind your back and is dealing directly with the director of the bureau,
Posture.
the director of the FBI. And then I almost got my butt in a ringer, because late at night I'm down in that unit. And that one agent particularly says, John, you're going to be a call, I think, from Louis Free. He's the United States attorney. He would later become a director. He's a United States attorney. He's prosecuting his bombing case out of Atlanta where these judges were killed, but now it's being prosecuted in Minneapolis. He's going to be calling you, or really was. Well, I don't know. He knows damn well why. So I get a call. A maniac. I almost got fired. He calls, and it said, hello? It's John. Yes, John Douglas. Oh, this is Louis Free, U.S. attorney in Minneapolis. Hello, how you doing? I said, I'd like to get someone out here, to help me in the case. Well, what do you want? Well, I want someone to sit in the courtroom to tell me how the subject is interacting with his attorney, with his attorney. So, yeah, that's it. And he said, yeah. I said, oh, so you don't want us to do any assessments of potential jurors? No, you don't want us to do any cross-examination strategies if the subject takes a stand? He says, no, he's not going to be taking a stand. And I said, well, let me tell you something, Mr. Free. Everything you're asking us to do, any FBI agent can do that. I suggest you contact the Minneapolis FBI office. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, it's late at night, so I'm still down in the hole. My assistant director calls, John, this is Tony Daniels. He said, yeah. He said, did you talk to Louis Free out in Minneapolis? What did you say? So I told him. He was this one.
I told him to kick stone.
Yeah. And he was always kind of supportive. He was supportive of me as well, like the other guy, McKinsey. And he says, hey, have you gotten a call yet from the Criminal Investigative Division? And he says, no. Well, you're probably getting a call pretty soon from this Larry Potts from Henniker. So here it comes. I no sooner put down. Ring, ring, ring. Hello, John? Yeah, this is Larry Potts. Oh, how you doing, Larry? Larry, did you talk to Louis Free, the attorney prosecutor? It was a big case at the time, big bombing case. And I said, yeah. What did you tell him? What did you tell him? So I went through all the things I told him about. And finishing up, I said, any FBI agent can do what you're asking us to do. Then it was, who in the F do you think you are telling a U.S. attorney how to prosecute his case? I'm like a nut, because I'm so burned out and tired. I'll tell you who the F I am. I said, I've worked thousands of these cases, and I know exactly what's going on. But then I realized I'm not going to be that stupid, because I'm not going to
win. Douglas.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Who the fuck are you?
So I got to start doing the Michael Jackson moonwalk. Oh, yeah. So I'm backing off, because my ass is going to Butte, Montana after this thing. And then, so anyway, sure enough, we sent, and the guy who told me about the call, he's the one who goes out there, and he did all the things we thought with the jury selection. The subject, the subject takes the stand, and then
the subject takes the stand.
Within less than a year, guess who's promoted to director of the FBI? Louis Free.
Of course.
He comes down to the unit with a U.S. senator. out of Utah. Good guy. I can't remember his name. He's a real good guy. And because he wants to really support this U.S. attorney, support the program. And then all of a sudden he was free. They're sitting on the couch. I'm standing. And all of a sudden I could see the light go on. Like, this is the asshole. This is the guy. This is the one. He's looking at me. He's looking at me as I'm laying all this stuff out. But we got the support, and the program, kept going. Today the program has a lot more units, 5 units, and they break it up into different sections, like child killing, some terrorism in there. We did everything. I used to call them the dirty dozen. We did 12 agents, about 30 personnel, support personnel. We did every kind of product tampering, every kind of case, and we really had some great successes. And I think we're better because we once we got there, we stayed there. Today we got people going through thinking, I worked once in the Silence of the Lambs unit, but we had, like, of my 25, 18 was at Quantico, and others like Roy Hazelwood, Ken Lanning, Bob Ressler were there the 16 years. And you get that institutional memory, and there's no computers, like we were saying. Yeah. So it really makes you a very strong unit. The rest of the units at Quantico aren't happy because if I need a body and and the range just lost the body, I could possibly get that body transferred to target staffing level, and that happens sometimes. So you're taking these bodies. So not everyone is blessing you. Like when you go by the firearms range, you have to have a bulletproof vest on.
What's Sean doing here? He's going to start coaching people. Everybody get back into the coach.
Look busy.
Yeah, look busy. Look like you know what you're doing. Or you're really stuck in the shooting. So we're out there training. You got anything for John?
Is it true that you interviewed Jeffrey Dahmer?
Dahmer. The only thing I did with Dahmer was I coached the prosecution on how to keep him off the stand, because my former colleague was going to testify that he was insane, and he had no business doing that. He didn't have the credentials of providing that kind of testimony. And the other thing was there was a psychiatrist, Dr. Fred Berlin, works over at Johns Hopkins, and he was going to testify that irresistible impulse. That's another defense. What that means when someone says it means that the client cannot control himself. That if he sees a woman, the target here, whatever kind of target, can't control. He's going to go through with that.
Based on what though?
Yeah,
that impulse.
Yeah, like an impulse. It's a total bullshit. Because the example I will give is that I've never seen a case if there was a potential victim on this corner, a cop on that corner, and the bad guy's over here, that this guy is just going to go out and start raping and attacking that woman.
Right.
And so, and Jamie mentioned this to me yesterday. They ended up bringing me into Columbia Hospital in Milwaukee after that to be on stage with that Dr. Fred Berlin. I have a doctorate degree, but it's an education, and I never use it. Maybe I publish once in a while, but I never use it. But anyway, all these shrinks are there, psychiatrists, psychologists, and they're trying to get us in a debate, like me against this big shot in Johns Hopkins. And it was so bizarre because when they would ask a question regarding the mental state and address it to, like, Dr. Berlin was deferring it to John Douglas, the educational doctor, over here, and so he wouldn't put up this fight or resistance. And what I also knew about him and some others is that there were situations where he was been treating people in the past only to have the subject. In one particular case, and it may have just been in his department, was out in the car waiting a child handcuffed to the car, inside the car, and was able to release the handbrake and the car smash into another car. So what I don't like about the mental health profession, and I used to hate it when I go out and speak at their conferences, they invite me, but is that and if I see the nonverbals, it pisses me off. So you'll go out there, it's one of these. I was in New Zealand one time, it's one of these, and I tell this publicist, why did you bring me here? Jesus, people hate me before I get out there. So I address it. If I see it, I address it. And I said, what's the problem? And he says, we don't like the way you refer to us in your books. What is that? Like we don't know much. I said, well, you don't know much, because if you're relying on self-reporting in your evaluation of this person, meaning that you're just asking questions. How do you feel? What do you have the urges, to commit whatever the crimes, are. And if you don't look at the crime scene photographs, the police reports, because all that information is a reflection of the offender. You can't hide that. That's a reflection of the offender. Then you don't know who in the hell you're talking to. Give you another one quickly. Interview Richard Speck. I then saw Dan Rather interviewing Thomas Vanda on television. I happened to be at the prison. I'm going to interview this guy, Thomas Vanda. He's a convicted murderer. He's like about 22. They rehabilitate them. He goes out. He joins a group, a religious group, Bible study group, waits for everyone to leave. He then ends up multiply stabbing this woman, doing sex things to this woman after death. So I go interview him. Inappropriate affect, his hands, he's rubbing his hands and everything. And I saw you on television last night. Yeah, what'd you think? Oh, you look really good, Tom.
Right.
Really good. So obviously this guy's insane, but he belongs right where he is, in this prison. I told my partner, I said, we got to go meet this psychiatrist who's dealing with him. So I go up to the door, knock on the door. John Douglas, partner here, just interviewed Thomas Vanda. Oh yeah, Thomas Vanda, he's doing really well. He's really responding to the I said, wait a minute. I said, do you know what he did? No, I don't want to know. What do you mean you don't want to know? I'm going to tell you what he did. And I go through the whole procedure of the Bible study. After it was over with, he did things sexually and open cut wounds to this woman. And he says, "You're disgusting. You're disgusting. Get the hell out of my office." I said, "Well, I'll get the hell out of your office, but you have no business being in a position, evaluating someone for parole or treatment,
Right.
At all, because they will not." And I've seen so much of it. They won't look at it. Well, prejudice. Well, what are you going to rely on? I'm going to rely on my experience. Oh, really? A college experience? What is that? I got nothing out of that. And by the way, these people lie to you. They're great liars, and you can't go by nonverbals all the time. They'll look at you smack dab in the face. Sometimes you can get to them. You mentioned before, Jamie, about some like bad ones. I interviewed a serial killer. His name was Lawrence Bittaker, and he teamed up with a guy named Norris, and they were convicted rapists. And they went to San Quentin, and while in San Quentin, they're fantasizing that when they get out, they're going to rape a teenager for every year of a teenager's life. So they get out, and they get a van, and they insulate. That's the other big thing they would do. Insulate the interior of the van so no one can hear the sounds and noises coming from in the van. And then they start cruising. And they start grabbing women, every couple of days. They end up getting like six or seven of them. What made it horrific. And I could only let the cops listen to about seconds of this, is they made audio tapes of the torturing, where they were using pliers and hammers and the screaming. And what they were trying to do is we say scripting. They script the victim so that as if the victim is enjoying it, to feedback like more and doing this. And it would make the hair stand up behind your head. So when I interviewed him, and I didn't interview Norris, the only time it was interesting, I had a female agent. She would ask a question. He would never look at her. She'd ask, and then he would answer me. And the only time he got to him was with the mother thing. And he got emotional there. But then you can be fooled by tears. And I always tell the people I was training, is that the tears aren't for the crime, what they did. The tears are for themselves. That they have to spend the rest of their life, in prison here. And that's who they cannot identify if they feel that they have been mistreated, abused their whole life. They just become totally desensitized, to it. And rehabilitation, my words of wisdom there, is you cannot rehabilitate someone who is not habilitated to begin with. So what I'm saying is that they're not quite right for various reasons in that early childhood, but it's going to be very difficult to change that thinking, that process of kids. I mean, my wife will tell me, other teachers, they see these kids now, this anti-authority, disrupting the classroom, the animal cruelty.
Victimization.
Yeah, I mean, they're seeing all that. And then the pandemic, what the pandemic did, it made these kids, stay at home, mostly one family homes, and a lot of them are living out of terrible housing, hotels, motels, living there where there's abuse going on, there's boyfriends going on, they're witnessing all that. They don't know how to work a damn iPad or computer at home. Where are they going to get the help from? And it's really set these kids back so much these past 2 years that they are really socially socially retarded. They're socially stunted.
Yeah.
Stunted. They're just so far behind. They don't know how to act. These kids. And so we're going to see more.
You wonder what that's going to create.
Yeah, in the
you know,
future. Yeah,
in terms of latent effects,
Yeah.
only to be visualized later on and assessed by others.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: you ever get into profile like for your own entertainment, like start creating profiles for either like politicians or people
assess.
in the news?
Well, yes.
Like not asking you to get political, but there's plenty of personalities in the news.
Oh, you
that
can
would just
see.
make
Yeah,
laugh,
you can see. I just when they ask questions, they never answer the question. They go the roundabout way.
Sure.
And profiling has been around. They may not have called it profiling, but who knows how many wars you're doing assessments on the enemy. Assessment. I mean, Joe Biden is so predictable. I mean, he's just a puppet here, and so.
That came from John Douglas.
FBI retired.
FBI retired.
But I'll say it. My gosh, it's such an opportunity for countries who want to go after us, because particularly these next 2 years is going to be their window of opportunity if they take control over everything. Because I mean, I'm 77, and this guy makes me feel like I'm in my 20s. I mean, he there's something wrong cognitively.
And regarded as a serious figure.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he's
not equipped at all. I mean, his intuitive when he's speaking. Sometimes you can see where he's talking about a dollar bill, and the next thing out, he's talking about a $5 bill. Like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, I mean, he guesses his story's all messed up. His son is killed in Iraq.
Who's writing for him?
Right,
That's
his son
my
was
thing.
killed.
Who's
Well,
much calls for.
I think if he stays on, it's just like Kamala. If they stay on script, but they go off,
they can't help themselves.
They can't speak. They can't handle.
Here's my personal opinion, and you've been around long enough, so you'd be able to figure it out. I still think there's 12 or 13 gazillionaires in a room like this, drinking 2 fingers of scotch and smoking cigars, making decisions on what the United States should be doing.
Come on.
I don't think it has to do. I think the president of the United States, whoever it is a figurehead. That's all they are.
Yeah.
They don't control jack. And you have people that's in the Congress and Senate that's making solicitations and all that stuff. And then all of a sudden you got this guy who's the president trying to relay it. He's not relaying it properly. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, who's the guy who funding all these politicians?
Soros.
Like him.
You get too much money in your brains. That's got. If you got that much money, and I'll get off politics. I hate it.
Yeah.
Take that money you're pushing out there and put it into the United States and get rid of the hunger. Get rid of the homeless.
Yes.
Take all these hotels that have been pushed down and shut down for the pandemic, reopen them up and make it a homeless place. People can go there and actually do treatment there, especially for vets.
Yeah.
You take a hotel or two, open up for homeless vets.
Yes.
Bring your DD-214 or I can look it up online and we'll bring you in. Use that money for that. But no, you're using it for stupid crap. Just going overseas, paying for people. They're hungry overseas. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm feeding myself and I take the opportunity to make sure other people are fed here in the United States.
This morning they showed the tents of the in New York City. The immigrants coming in, they have Xboxes and coffee time,
and the homeless don't have that.
Right, or the veterans.
Yeah,
even,
the veterans.
That's what I'm saying. You got prisoners, people you threw in the jail who have better accommodations, 3 meals, a cot,
and people
and a
who
place
serve.
to live. Yeah, and people who serve in the military.
Yeah,
you're doing what? We want to make more rules and let these guys get away with more in prison? Bullshit. Yeah. Put them outside in the yard. Make them hard labor. If you're in jail for a crime that's bad crime, you should be put into the fields like they do in Texas.
Yes.
In those places out there. Go out and work. You want to you want to eat? Grow your food. Take it out. But I just, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about it. I just hate the fact that we allow people in the United States to control how we think as individuals. And I hate that shit. It gets under my, and that's why I get very, I don't talk about
it's
religion.
creeping in more and more, too, that European centric.
I know, Stu, you're going to get mad. I'm going to ask for the sake of well-roundedness. You talked a little bit about, your assessment of Biden. What about the other end of the aisle? What do you think about Trump and
Trump
his kind of
is
personality?
I know Trump. In New York, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's
He's
his
a
style.
businessman.
That's a
That's
style.
the thing. That's what we need.
I would let say laugh because I know that's New Yorker. It's like when we have these New Yorkers come back to the FBI National Academy for 11 weeks. It's like they go through a school for comedy before they arrive. These guys, they're just hilarious.
different.
They're hilarious. They're different. He's rough around the edges, obviously. You know the way he comes, across.
That's it. This is him though. It's personality.
Yeah.
And here's the thing.
Country was
He's not a
great.
politician by no means. He's a businessman, very successful at that. And that's at the end of the day, I think what he brought to the table. If he had stayed off of social media,
Yes.
Trump would still be.
Yeah.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
That's
If he didn't
just
run
my
against
personal-
the Twitter account.
You're right.
Away from the Twitter and the Instagram
Yeah.
shit, he's
Yeah.
probably still be president.
You've got a MasterClass coming out, don't you?
Yeah, the MasterClass just came out. Well, today this could be on tape anyway, but that's October 20th. And I really didn't know much about it. I'm a one-dimensional guy. I don't have much of a life. And so they called me and they wanted me to they call it classes on there. And they have like 180 different people. But it's like, a musician. You have to learn to play that musician's instrument or sing like Mariah Carey something. But it's how the planning, what goes into it. But they have everything from top poker players to scientists on there, from different writers. So mine, what they wanted me to do is to apply. And I did this over the summer. Apply what I've learned from my work, and can you make it applicable to everyday life type of situations? You may not meet someone who's going to draw you into a cult like a Manson type of thing, but you may see people who very this narcissistic, I did a radio show one time in LA and had a woman call in and how she met this guy who was like a knight in shining armor, and the bar came up. He was a great listener. He listened to everything I said. And the next thing you know, we're moving in together. But then what happened? He started controlling every aspect of my life, cut off my family. I could not contact my family. He would go to the odometer of my car to see how many miles I was working, controlled my income. Became abusive.
Sling load.
You're safe.
Yeah, became abusive, and then he would maybe hit her. The next thing you know, he would show up with candy or flowers. So then she starts feeling maybe it's me, maybe there's something wrong with me. But that's how these people how they target these predatory types. And when someone's maybe like, for example, just so. You always have to be asking questions, like you guys, question. Yes, because like someone asks you to do something, why? I mean, what's really his motive or her motive? What's the purpose here? Is he just nice? Wants to take me out to lunch, or is there something going on here? What do I have that this person may want from me? Is it my position and my job? Is it money that I have? Is it maybe sex or really what is that? And so they don't put themselves into a position, a victim of opportunity, or a victim where they can't get out of a situation because it's too late. So you can apply a lot of that. And deception, what that's like I give you an example like John Gacy. When he got caught, he confessed to his attorneys. He confessed to the police. He drew a schematic drawing of where all the bodies were in the crawl space of his house. And now it gets close to execution time, and we got him beamed in back at Quantico by satellite. Took 350 cops and agents, and now he's doing, he's backing off, like denying that he did any of this stuff. He's got an answer for everything. Excusing himself, and it's all part of deception, lying. So it's interesting. But when you do the interviews, you got to really sound like you're really very much interested and you're believing. Although if you say something crazy, like when David Berkowitz said it was a 3,000-year-old dog, I got his commands. Hey, David, who you bullshit? Come on. It wasn't a 3,000-year-old dog at all. Oh, another thing, too, I don't know if I should say it at your show. It's probably X-rated. You'll have to have a warning on your show.
I think we have a warning.
But when I interviewed Berkowitz, he set 2,500 fires in New York City. And then they go back, they relive it, they fantasize, they masturbate and everything. So we bring him in for the interview. We have blue eyes, and I have to lay out this stuff to get him talking. I said, John Douglas, this is the research, what we're doing. You know, there's a guy right now in Wichita, Kansas, known as the BTK Strangler, and he's emulating you. He just wants to be like you. And you know something, David, 100 years from now, and I whip out the New York Post, I said, no one's going to know John Douglas, but everyone's going to know you. David Berkowitz, his son of Sam, terrorizes New York City. His eyes are going back and forth. So I really opened it up. And so part of the questions, and we had a 57-page questionnaire with thousands of questions. We had to fill out as much as we could before the interview. The rest we do back at the hotel having a beer after the interview. So we got to the point of masturbation, and because he would go to the fires. And he said, what about that? He said, with the masturbation, you still fantasize? And he says, oh yeah, I still the chronic masturbator. And this was right after we shook hands with this guy. Guard, do you have any towels? You bring any towels in here for us, please?
They probably have all the sanitary stuff that we have today. No. Kind of like I'm not eating with these guys for next week. Out of control. Well, this kind of leads us towards the end, John. I mean, we've had a great hour and a half.
You guys are
fascinating.
Great.
You guys got anything else you want to ask John? It's been a pleasure. And for me,
I enjoyed
personally, I've learned so much in just this hour sitting here talking with you.
Well, thank you.
I'm hoping people at the Smoke Pit understand that you have books out there. Go pick one up, go read about it, and watch Mindhunter. Check this man out.
Check out the MasterClass.
Yeah, MasterClass.
Yeah, he's the cat's meow, whatever I'll say. So without that, and also too, I must confess to law enforcement, I was not digging you. I love you to death. I think you're the greatest thing since sliced bread because you protect us on a daily basis. So I apologize for the comment I made earlier, but again, there's still 10%. You guys know that.
Oh,
yeah.
So with that said, again, this is a Smoke Pit. We're joined with John Douglas, the profiler. That's the profiler. Jamie, and we have Juan here. So with that conclusion, thank you. Come back again and check us out for our next podcast. I'm Stu, the host, your great beer veteran. Have a great day. Peace out.